cold water in the lower chamber. There's a filter in between which filters the ice water as it melts. This was made by Eagle Pottery Company sometime in the early 20s. The planter with a clown and a horizontal drum. This is the only one of its kind, as it was made as a sample showing what it would look like painted up in various colors. We ended up making this in just the original color and no added embellishments. The name Niloak inscribed in indented letters in the bottom of the piece. This was the first type of Niloak identification made by me. This part was designed by me, Joe Alley, along with other items of circus clowns, elephants, and so forth. First designs by me, and it was made back in 1948, I believe. This little dog was another design of mine, which we ended up making other design dogs. However, this one is a solid dog and was meant to be pressed out of solid clay. Here, this is the only example of this dog that we have, as we made others which were cast and sold as small planters. This small bowl on top was designed by me, and it bears one of the first designs of the new Niloak name on the bottom. On top is the old design, incised Niloak, and at the bottom is the newer design, which is raised letters, which I developed at Niloak. And sitting on a lily bowl, which I designed. For Niloak. According to Estelle Lloyd, she said this was the best piece I ever made. We did sell a lot of them. This is one of the first production pieces that we made, and the design of a Chinese type vase, which I designed for Niloak. It has a rose running up the side of it, and the two square handles are made separately and then glued on by wet slip when it's still in wet stages. There were other pieces made to complement this, bowls and other types of vases. However, I do not have any samples of them. This piece has the raised lettering on the bottom. As you can see right here. For the swirl type Niloak pottery, the old original. I have more pieces, but these are representative of the ones that we made during my stay at Niloak. There's 2 or 3 pieces here that are much older than me. This tall piece right here, it's about 20 inches tall. It was made probably in the early teens, about 1915 and 1920, somewhere in there. The tobacco humidor is one I made. And this is probably the smallest vase that was made at Niloak. This is about 2 inches tall. And this is another little vase. And this is a bowl, a lily bowl. And it was made probably somewhere in the early 20s. This is a sample of a design we made with the colored clay. It's the only one of this kind in the world. This is one I made with inlaid fish and waves in the water. As I said, it's the only one that we ever made, and we decided it was a little bit too expensive to try to produce these effectively. This is a coffee mug which I designed for another pottery. In Texas. This was featured in Home Beautiful, or House Beautiful, back in probably the early 40s. A piece which I designed for Texas Pottery Company Incorporated back in the early 40s. It features a blue colored body with clear glaze. The cameo in the center is a cameo of my wife, Alan. It's the only one of its kind in the world. This is another piece which I designed for Texas Pottery Company back in the early 1940s or mid-40s. This is a production item, and we sold thousands of them. It's about 6 or 7 inches tall, colored clay body with clear glaze, and then a decal fired on in the lower portion. A rearing Mustang which I designed for Texas Pottery Company. We found that after designing it, it was a little bit too heavy in front, would tend to sink down. Therefore, a new design had to be made. This is the only one of its kind in the world. We redesigned rearing Mustang. As you can see, we've added, I added cactus underneath it. This is the Bulldog lying down, prone. It's made in a maroon color. That was quite a number of these made. It was designed by all of these that we're showing here now were designed by Joe Alley. This is another little dog. It's a golden retriever. It's a planter. And this one down here is the fawn, single fawn, which I designed. And up here we have the bull elephant, which was a planter. And many of these were sold. It was a good sized planter, probably about six inches high, something like that. And then here's another dog looking back at his tail. This was one of my designs. And this is a little terrier, which was one of my designs. Many of these are sold. And then up here we have a little cornucopia, which was my design. And many of those were sold. The next picture down here is a Trojan horse, which I designed, and we made about half a dozen samples of it. It stands about 10 inches high, and this is the only one that I know of that exists. The others may be somewhere, but I don't know where they are. Miniature swirl pattern Niloak, about 1.5 inches high. And the next one is an ashtray, Niloak swirl pattern. There were many and many of these sold. And down below, this was a sample of probably 5 or 6 that we made of a sombrero ashtray. There were only maybe 5 or 6 of these made, and my son has one of them. This is the one of the Keystone Cop and his donkey, which he cannot get up. This was a planter, and originally we tried to paint some of these in colors and to see how they sold, but we eventually returned to just making them one color. And this is a small picture, brick design. And then down below is the old elephant on a drum with the N for Niloak in the drum side. The next one up here is a Keystone Cop, again painted in color, which we only made a few samples, and because it was too expensive to make, there were only a few of them made. And down below we have a set of, these were drinking glasses in a goblet design, and we proposed making them with different initials in them. This one has A in it and was a sample that we ran. Here's another two of those in different colors. And then up here is a planter, a frog planter, used for bowls and putting a bird in the center of it with flowers on each side.